Askreddit. What's the most F up shit you've walked into? Wife and I went to Denny's for a late breakfast. Couple with teenage dog are in booth behind us on the other side of the partition. Daughter looks to be 16 to 17-ish. Mother is sobbing and visibly shaken. Father is berating daughter. Daughter turns out was picked up by police in the middle of the night in a stolen car with her 4 other friends. Parents had just gotten her out of detention. Father was giving the "we did not raise you to be like this" speech. She had been sneaking out at night to go partying with her friends. Then all hell broke loose. The daughter came clean that she and her friends were doing sexual favors to get the drugs and liquor each night. The stolen car was from a John. Parents only thought their daughter and friends were joyriding in a stolen car. We listen in on that train week of a conversation and are like, oh my god. Edit, more details. This was happened 9 years ago. I think the parents were trying to shame the daughter, but did not realize the sordid details that would come out. Some other details I remember are the other girls were older, 17, 18. This wasn't the first time she had snuck out, but it was the first time the police became involved. Seeing lots of replies as to what is a John. For the younger redditors and those from other countries, a John is someone how seeks the services of a lady of the night / hooker / prostitute. Crashed at my friend's place. His brother was living with him at the time, so I slept on an air mattress in his brother's room while my friend slept in his own room with his girlfriend. I wake up around 2 AM to take a piss and notice the bathroom light is on. The door was cracked open, so I figured maybe his brother used it and forgot to turn off the light. Open the door and see my friend's brother sitting in the bathtub with his back turned to the door. It sounded like he was crying. I knew that wasn't my place, so I quietly shut the door and got back into bed. Woke up the next morning to take a shower, and what do I see? Blood all over the shower with a bloody razor laying by the drain. I had walked in on him cutting himself in the shower and didn't even know it. I never said a word about it to him. As you would expect, he wore long sleeves the entire time I was visiting. Got a message from a friend of my then girlfriend. Told me I needed to go to my girlfriend's house because she was feeling rather horny. Was odd that her friend sent me this message, but I thought I was getting 6, so I hauled ass over there. She was horny, alright. Horny for the 2 dudes betrosting her. My roommate getting ready to have sex with his best friend's wife while their kids who were on a play date were napping. Walked in on a guy using a Hitachi magic wand on a girl who was orgasming so hard she had shit herself. Dude was yelling "Muahaha," sounding like the mad scientist on Tojam and Earl 1. When I was young, I was at my grandparents' ranch. My grandmom told me to go out and help my granddad. He was in the barn with a cow birth and had been there a while. I walked out to the completely quiet barn to see him looking down in either disgust or sadness. I walked around to see the most disgusting thing. The baby was already dead inside the mom and had ruptured during the birthing process. This caused massive shock and prolapse of the cow. I saw a low of blood, a smell I will never forget, and the decaying face of a baby cow never born. When I was 6 years old, I lived with my mom in a single wide trailer out in the country. One night she sat me down for dinner in front of the TV and gave me a big hug, then walked into her bedroom and closed the door. Shortly after that, I heard the loudest boom I had ever heard in my life come from her room. I got up and opened up the door to her bedroom to find my mom with her head blown off. Suicide. I'm 34 now and it still pains me to talk about, but it is by far the most fucked up shit that I have ever walked into. My uncle was driving me to school, so I went to his house in the morning. He and his wife were fighting in the living room, and I guess he didn't see me walking in because he proceeded to take spare change out of his pocket, count it and give it to his angry wife, saying, "If it's so terrible to be married to me, here, catch a bus to insert here common bridge to commit suicide in my city and jump, and I won't give you money for the ride back because you won't need it." His exact words don't translate perfectly, but that is close enough. Then he took his keys, jacket in my hand and stormed out. The wife had the most indignant * look on her face I've ever seen. I used to work in a prison. It's a British female prison. and I was a male officer. At lockup time I was getting everyone back to their cells, mainly by ineffectively shouting at the women, but slowly they were getting banged up for the night. I walked in this one cell to check, and on the floor were two women inserting a 2L full Coke bottle into the other. Fat end first, the inserters were about 25 and the receiver 50. I just noped out of there, came back 5 minutes later and everyone was back in their own cell with just the receiver sat watching TV in her own cell. Not a word was said by me or them. Locked everyone away and never told anyone, except my wife, when I got home. And she was like, yeah well you can fit a baby out that way, a Coke bottle isn't that much wider. At university I walked in on my housemate, having cocaine blown up his ass with a bicycle pumped by his girlfriend. They're married now so there's someone out there for everyone. Walked in on my mom doing lines of coke at my cousin's apt on Christmas Eve. Things got real tense after that. I knew my mom was no saint, but my dad got angry at me for finding out. I used to work as a security guard and got some patrol shifts one weekend to secure a bunch of secondary schools and elementary schools nearby to them. School vandalism is very common on the weekend between prom and graduation. I was doing a patrol through an elementary schoolyard at around dusk, 8 PM, and came upon a girl giving a blowjob to a guy on the swing set. Both kids are maybe 16 or so. I used my lots authoritarian voice to say, this isn't a good place to do that. The guy immediately starts crying, a lot. The girl panics and just runs off, leaving the guy with his pants down. He won't stop crying, like, bawling and snot all over the place crying. I end up spending a very long time calming him down before escorting him off of school property. I never called the police or filed a report. At that point I figured the emotional scars would probably be enough of a deterrent. When I was in college, in Texas, I lived in an apartment-style dorm. Had 2 bedrooms on each side that shared a bathroom and a shared living room and kitchen. Me and a friend were walking back from our class that got cancelled, and we walked in on my roommate jerking it on the couch in the living room to some old school VHS porno on the TV. It gets better. He had his cowboy hat on, cowboy boots on, and had his leg hiked up in the air, and was grabbing his dick from under his thigh, like reaching back to front, and jerking it that way. Also, he was probably close to 300 pounds. Never sat on that couch again, and changed rooms at the end of the semester. Edit, for those asking, he paused in me, and my friend just turned around and walked out. No clue what he did after we left. I was delivering a parcel to a business in a remote location. Walked in and found a naked chick throwing cucumbers at an elderly gentleman's spread ass cheeks. She saw me and told me to wait a second while she threw 2 or 3 more. It appeared as though she was trying to javelin them into his crinkly old brown eye. Then she came over, signed and went, and started collecting the cucumbers. The old guy shouted thanks. There must have been 30 cucumbers on the floor. Later that day I delivered a parcel to a guy that was in the middle of being arrested. The cops let him sign though, and he told me it was a dildo for the cop's wife, and the cop replies that if he didn't shut his mouth he'd shove the box up his ass. It was a great day, and I still think fondly of that old man and his baggy shit piece. During a night of drinking and partying, I laid my friend down in this room after he passed out outside. When it was to leave, I went back to the room to get him, only to be greeted by a couple in full doggy style mode next to him as he slept, and him talking, pounding it. My previous answer, I was the spot kid at a car dealership when I was 18. Moved cars around on the lot. When we got a spot, I'd clean it. A spot was the term for when one of the salesmen sold a car. I'd also clean up trade-ins and some other vehicles when I got a chance. We took in one of those big ass conversion vans on a trade. It was left in the back lot. On most slow nights, I'd grab one of the trades that was going to go back out on the lot and clean it. I was putting off cleaning this van for a while. It's a big ass can, and it would take hours. So when I finally decide to clean it, I grab the keys and head to the back of the lot. Open the door. There's 2 of the male salesmen going at it on the shitty pull-out bed, while the female sales manager watched from one of the swiveling captain's chairs. There was a shit ton of coke involved. I shut the door and slowly backed away. Never cleaned that van. The service manager asked why I hadn't already. Told him that, let's say Jack said I didn't have to, and to ask her. Few days later it gets loaded up and sent to auction. Nothing was mentioned for a few days about what I saw, but it was weird in the sales office when I was around. Few days later 9/11 happened and all that was forgotten. Once walked in on a co-worker giving a manager a blowjob. She was furiously going at it too. He got startled. She stopped. But the fucked up thing was she came up to me later and said that could be you and winked. It was fucked up because all three of us were married to other people. I noped out. A guy with a beer bong in his ass and someone pouring Jack and Coke in it.